here. Welcome. Today I got a question for you. Have you thought about starting a podcast? I feel like I know the answer, and the answer is yes, because one of the most common questions that I get on my DMs is, how do I start a podcast? Should I start a podcast? How did you start your podcast? Or something along those lines. And so I thought, why not create a free podcast webinar where I could help you come up with your concept for your podcast? I think this is the most important step in the process. But to go back to this video, I wanted to share right now the 3 reasons why you should start a podcast and the 3 things that you need to know before starting your podcast. So these are the things that I wish somebody had told me before I started. The 3 reasons why you should. 1 is the reach. You will reach people that you would not otherwise reach. Like the people that I've reached on my podcast are not the kind of people that would have been following me on Instagram or that I could even find myself. I have literally had people DM me from Europe, Egypt, Middle East, South America, like all over the place. And trust me, there's people all over the world that speak English and that want to listen to these podcasts, and they're literally craving your content. And it's really incredible how many people you can reach through a podcast. Number 2 is that podcasts have like a super long attention span. I don't know why, but it's statistically proven that people will literally be willing to sit there and listen to you for an hour or 2, and they're happy to do it. It's weird because we can't even do that through video. Like we will not sit there and watch YouTube videos for more than like maybe 10 minutes, right? Like we want shorter videos. But when it comes to listening to podcasts, people are actually listening to like really long podcasts. Some podcasts are like 2 hours. I don't recommend that length, but I'm just saying this is a medium where you can actually reach people and hold their attention, which is incredible, especially in the times that we live in. So it's super cool. And number 3 is just you are expanding your impact. And this is related to number 1, but actually story time. One time, and I get so many stories similar to this one, but this one was the one that touched me the most. I got a girl that's living in the US that started listening to my podcast, and her mom lives in Mexico, and her mom is older, and she is from a super small town, and she's super old school and conservative, and like she literally grew up in that generation where like, you know, men are sexist and like all these crazy things, right? So like she grew up with that mentality. And anyway, that girl shared, you know, she's a listener of mine, and she shared the podcast with her mom in Mexico. And obviously her mom would listen to the Spanish episodes because the podcast is bilingual. And anyway, so then, you know, I guess after a few episodes, the girl reached out to me and she was like, oh my gosh, like my mom is so touched by your podcast. Like she's cried, she's laughed, she loves it. And this mom, like I wouldn't have been able to reach that woman. Like she's in her 50s, like she's older, she's in Mexico. She doesn't have TV, but she could listen to the podcast because she has internet, you know, and it's free. And so, you know, the fact that you can do these things, this is amazing, and it's so rewarding. And this is because this is my why, like empowering women. For me, that was great, right? Like when you get the answer to your why, like the why that you started something and you see that it's working, like that's the best encouragement for you to keep going. And this is why it's important to know your why. But I wanted to share that story because just like that, there's so many stories, and I'm just so touched by the people that we can reach and the impact that we can make through podcasts. End of story. Continue the video. Besos. To listen to positive stories, to listen to motivation, to listen to hacks, to tricks, whatever it is that you want to share, you can reach these people that and create an impact that's greater than what you can do with any other platform. So these are the 3 reasons why I think that it's amazing to start a podcast. Having said that, these are the 3 things that you need to know before you know if you want to start a podcast. Number 1 is, do you really want to start a podcast? I wish someone had told me this and asked me this when I was just starting. Not because I regret starting my podcast, not because I wouldn't have done it otherwise, but I wish I would have gotten in more prepared. I wish I would have gotten in knowing what a big commitment it is. But I didn't. I did not know what I was signing up for, and it's actually quite a big commitment. It's not undoable, it's not impossible, and it's not going to take over your job or something like that, but it is a time commitment. So it's better when you know what you're walking into. It's better when you know, like, okay, I'm ready to make this commitment, I'm ready to do it. So if you're ready to do it, second thing you got to consider is the why. And just with like business and brands and everything else that we create, we want to know the why. If you don't know your why, it's going to be really hard to stay consistent. It's going to be really hard for you to even craft your message and craft your ideation and craft your podcast. So you have to know your why. Why is it that you want to start a podcast? What's the purpose of it? And number 3, you have to know what it is. And this is going back to that concept. If you don't know the concept, it's going to get lost, because as good as this is time to start podcasts, there's also a ton of podcasts out there, like so many podcasts, like new podcasts every single day. So unless you have a clear message and like a clear format and all these things that go into starting a podcast, it might get lost. It just might, because people are not going to understand. If you don't understand what it is, people are not going to understand. So you have to have a really solid concept, and this is what we're going to be going through in that free class. So make sure that you sign up. I'm going to share the link below. But these are the 6 things that I wanted to share with you. I hope you like them. If you have any other questions, if you have any other comments, please comment below. And I want to let you know that after this free class, I will also be offering literally like start your podcast from A to Z. And that's going to be amazing. It's going to be free. Like, it's free to start a podcast. It's super easy, but you just need the guidance, because again, I wish somebody would have told me the things that I needed to know before I started. So anyway, besos.